it seems like yesterday since we all met together for the first time. It's been an interesting year. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you who made the Assembly work so smoothly. I'd like to thank the staff, I'd like to thank Secretariat, I'd like to thank the people in the group offices who ensured that what could have been a difficult year with a transition to a new mayor goes so smoothly. I think the thing in general worked terribly well. Before I came down here, I thought I would review the speech that I made after being elected as chairman last year. And the most astonishing thing about that speech was that 17 people had viewed it. I couldn't believe it. You know, what kind of sad people. Look at that. And the thing went pretty much as planned. You will recall that the principal thing that I wanted to achieve was that perhaps we will be taken more seriously now with a new mayor and with so many new members. And I'd like to think that has worked. I think that we have been much more ordered. I nearly said disciplined, but certainly more ordered than we were before. I think business has been conducted expeditiously. And I think the striking thing is that so many of you who are completely new to the Assembly moved seamlessly into your new jobs as chairs and deputy chairs, things like that. And the business of the Assembly has worked very well. I think the most interesting thing about this year was, of course, it was the year of Brexit, when there has been this extraordinary mantra that London is open for business. I don't ever recall anybody suggesting that London wouldn't be open for business. I referred last year, you know, to this being the London of Dick Whittington. This was always the place where the streets were paved with gold and your fortunes could be made. Well, even bigger fortunes have been made since the referendum, and that will continue to be the position. London absolutely was never going to be fazed by this. It simply was a new challenge, and it was going to be a new opportunity, and the thing has worked well. We, of course, did have the dreadful disaster last month with the terrible atrocities on Westminster Bridge. And I think that the thing that has shown about London, firstly, was the resilience and the heroism of officers of the Metropolitan Police and indeed ordinary Londoners. The thing has worked extremely well. And that is part, if you like, of the sort of seamless flow of London coping extremely well. We are not fazed by anything, you know. Churchill's called it keep buggering on. I think I could probably be arrested for saying that now, but I'm hoping that in effect it's ex cathedra today. One of the interesting things about our ordinary internal business this year has been the fact that a Minister of State came. Previously, the highest echelon of government who has come to us before has been a parliamentary under-secretary. But this year we had a Minister of State. It's not inconceivable, and I hope that there will come a time when it will not be unusual for there to be a full minister, thinking it worth their while coming across to us here from Westminster. From that point of view, the thing went very well. We've had very few audience distractions. We've had very few distractions from yourselves. I've always thought that we ought to be taught about how to handle hecklers. You know, and I'm disappointed that I didn't have as many heckles as there might have been. I've always liked the story of the politician who went to a meeting and he addressed the assembled crowd, you know, and there was mutterings there. And a woman in the audience yelled out, "You bastard!" Oh, and the speaker said, "Mother, I told you not to come." And I've always thought that that was the most wonderful put down, and I'm sorry I didn't have the opportunity to do that. I'm sure that Jeanette, in her year of office, will do that. Can I repeat what I said at the beginning? Thank you very much. It's been an interesting year, and I wish the new chairman, whoever she may be, extremely well. Thank you so much.
Assembly members, I'll now do the formalities for calling for nominations for the office of Chair of the London Assembly, and I will, as normal, explain the process at the beginning. In the event of one candidate being nominated, and if it becomes clear that there are no other nominations, I'll declare that nominated candidate as being the Chair of the Assembly. In the event of two or more candidates being nominated, I'll pause the process and explain next steps in more detail. Once the Chair is elected, that person will conduct the election for the office of Deputy Chair of the Assembly. So I'll now ask for nominations for the office of Chair of the London Assembly for the period until the next annual general meeting of the Assembly.
It gives me enormous pleasure to nominate Assembly Member Arnold as Chairman of the Assembly for 2017-2018.
May I have a seconder for that?
Can I second that, please?
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your nomination?
I nearly said, well, I haven't said anything yet, but it's kind of deja vu all over again. We've been here before. By electing Assembly Member Arnold, by electing Jeanette, you will get stability and security, a phrase I think you've heard a great deal of over the past few weeks. We've had it from someone who has been described as a bloody difficult woman. I could not possibly use those words of Assembly Member Arnold. I would merely say charming, great fun, and it's almost like me and Mum. Gives me enormous pleasure to propose Assembly Member Arnold.
Assembly Member Twycross, would you like to speak? In support of
I wasn't going to, but I did feel I should make the point, given Tony's words, that I do feel that Jeanette's going to be the chair for the many, not the few, and will carry on the great tradition of chairing the Assembly with fairness, with clarity, and keeping us all on our toes to be on our best behaviour. So I'll leave it at that.
Are there any other nominations? Does any other group leader wish to speak at this stage? Sorry?
About Tony, I did have some words to say about Tony. Is that now or later?
You can say some words now about Tony. It's a bit in the middle. I'd quite like to get to the end.
Okay, all right.
if that's all right. So in the absence of further nominations, I will formally declare Assembly Member Jeanette Arnold as the Chair of the London Assembly for the period up until the next annual general meeting of the Assembly.
Thank you.
Would Assembly members mind if Assembly Member Twycross said a few words now? Sure they wouldn't.
If it's the appropriate point, is it?
Well, I think there's no reason why you shouldn't.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank Tony on behalf of the Labour Group for his chairmanship of the Assembly over the past year. Despite occasional differences, I think it's fair to say you've been a good chair, Tony, or Assembly Member Arbour, as I probably ought to refer to you as, and you've been scrupulously fair to all groups. I think if you upset everybody occasionally, then you're probably along the right lines. And you've managed to make sure that we all keep our feet firmly on the ground with your few well-chosen and very timely words about the role of the Assembly. And you've definitely made sure that we managed to mind our P&Qs and stamp down on a trend of informality and over the past year. And I think, and you've made us more disciplined, as you say. I scribbled down disciplined here. So I think, and I think that's true, you have done. So you're not exactly, Assembly Member Arbour, renowned for your love of social media, and you did actually stamp down on our trend of taking photographs in the chamber for use of Twitter. However, it has been noted very occasionally that you do You do like a game or two on your phone. This wasn't what I was intending to say, but we do hope, and it was suggested that I say that we hope that being deputy chair for a year will free up a little bit more of your time. But I know that you'll be supporting Jeanette. You've got an excellent working relationship between the two of you, and I know, and from the Labour group, we know that you'll be supporting Jeanette and be a good colleague to her over the year. Whilst Tony has been chair, you have been known to veer off a couple of times and engage with the mayor during mayor's question times. And actually, we've noticed occasionally that you get in trouble with your own group for using up their time on the clock. And we did think that possibly this was because you didn't have Stephen Knight to have battle with in the past year, and to wind up in the chamber. We note, or I note that your words and you were much more political in your comments than you probably would have been as chair. And I think this is a sign of things to come, and we look forward to more mayoral combat this coming year, where you're let loose to be much more political than you can be in the role of chair. But thank you, Tony, and good luck in the year ahead.
Thank you, Fiona.
I have Gareth Baker and then Caroline Pigeon.
Thank you very much. A lot of what Fiona has said, this is becoming a bit of a trend, is stuff that I agree with wholeheartedly. It's only the second time in 9 years that a member of my party has chaired the Assembly, and in common with the first time that happened, it's one of the founding members of the London Assembly who has done it. And I think Tony has brought what you'd expect to the role, considerable experience, quite a large dollop of wit, I would say, and old world charm. We heard some of his anecdotes today. That's been a feature, I think, of the year. And I think it's lightened the tone considerably, because Tony does like formalities, as we've heard. He has stamped down on what I think was an overly familiar ritual that we'd all fallen into in previous years, and I think the Assembly is better for it. I think certainly Brick Breaker is going to take a big hammering this year, because I think that Tony's returning to his BlackBerry is going to be something that he's welcoming. I think I'd like also to say, or to welcome Jeanette back into the chair. Assemblymember Arnold is, I think, probably now the world record holder for chairing the London Assembly. There can't possibly be anybody who has chaired the Assembly on more occasions. But I think what Jeanette and Tony both have in common, and I think this is something that needs to be welcomed in the chairs of the London Assembly, is that they both recognise and fight for the role of the London Assembly vis-à-vis the overwhelming power, executive power, that the Mayor has in this building. The Assembly fulfils a vital function, and I think that in both Tony and Jeanette we have great custodians of that role, and they will constantly bring to the Mayor's attention the right of the Assembly to stand up and be heard and reflect the concerns of Londoners, and I would like to hope that that will continue forevermore. On one final note, Fiona is also completely correct to say that on one or two occasions, maybe our group got a little bit miffed at watching our time disappear while Tony was rampaging around. And I personally will be very happy that this year Tony will no longer be interrupting me while I'm attempting to question the Mayor. But I'd like to thank him very much for his year. He's been a great servant, and I look forward to him being Vice Chair for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Gareth.
Caroline Pigeon and then Sian Barry.
Thank you very much. I think it was very fitting, Assemblymember Arbour, that you did become Chair of the Assembly, because, as you say, you've been here since 2000, but also you're a member of the GLC, so you bring all that knowledge and experience as well as local government. I think it's been a challenging year, the new Mayor settling in, lots of new appointments and staff, and I think it's gone very well. And I know, having had a previous member of my group as Chair of the Assembly, what huge amounts of admin and work goes on behind the scenes that you could never imagine. It's not just turning up to chair this meeting. There's a huge amount of work that goes on. I think it's gone really smoothly, and that's a tribute to you and your experience over the year. I think you've enjoyed being chair. I'm not sure whether you always have, but I think you've enjoyed it, and you certainly had a very successful reception for young people as well this year. So thank you for all your work over the year. Look forward to you being the deputy chair, and I should just put on record, I'm delighted that Assemblymember Arnold has become the chair, such an ambassador for the Assembly and our scrutiny work, and really look forward to your year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, I'd like to thank you for your work this year, Chair. Also for being so welcoming and dealing so nicely with the many new members that we've had in the Assembly starting last year, and obviously with the new Mayor as well. I think probably on behalf of all the new members who were elected in 2016, I'd like to thank you for introducing us to this chamber. I know you're one of the very few of us who've been here forever, or at least as long as the Assembly's existed, but I think you're actually the only one of us who was also on the GLC. So I think that long experience of dealing with perhaps more unruly chambers than this has helped you in that work you've done this year. Assembly Member Arnold, I know, has been an excellent and fair chair here before when my predecessors as Green AMs were here, and I know you will be again, so welcome to you as well. Thank you.
Can I hand over to the new chair?
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much. And thank you to all my colleagues for the kind words. And it's my pleasure to be sitting as chair of the London Assembly for the coming year. Can I just say a few words about Mr. Arbour? What can I say? There's the phrase that says, you get what you see. Staunch believer, and that's been really good because, in a way, we've complemented each other because in the same way that he is passionate about his party and his beliefs, I am. So we've agreed that we're fine. We can get on. I think it was Gareth that mentioned, in terms of our commitment to this Assembly, that we both share a commitment to come here to work for London. We're quite clear why we're here. We're quite clear about the role of scrutiny. And we want a successful London, and we want the Mayor, whoever that person is, to fulfil their obligations. But we also appreciate that the Assembly has a role, and I'll go on to talk about some of the brilliant work that we have done, because what we do understand is that no one person has all the information, has all the knowledge about this great city. And so what we do when we come here on behalf of our constituents is we bring their voice, we bring their concerns, and we are determined, whether we're chair or deputy, to make sure that that voice is heard. He talked about me being his mum, and we are a right pair, really. I would rather think of us as me matron and him the naughty boy. And why I say that, I can't tell you the number of times I've had to correct him or just remind him to put this blessed computer away and not play the game that he's so fond of, the games that he's so fond of. Now, I shall be still sort of looking to him to be a great supporter, which I know that he has been because we've done this vlog before. And just to say to him that I will be looking to him to stick to the rules of the game and to be succinct and to not look to me for any favours, because I can assure you, Gareth, he's not going to get away with you misusing your time under my watch. Okay. I would also like to add my thanks to all the staff of the Assembly Secretariat and indeed to all members of staff of the GLA for their unstinted support. Without the support of everyone who's employed by the GLA, we couldn't be sitting here. So I'd like to thank everybody. I'd also like to thank the witnesses and all of those people who have submitted evidence to us over the year and helped our work to be held in such high regard. when I travel and I'm in Scotland or I'm in Ireland, I'm in Brussels, I'm always like really proud when somebody comes up and they say, we have just read this report that the Assembly has produced, and I just have to feedback and say, in Brussels recently, a number of colleagues from many of the European countries that were gathered there were talking about the work that we as the Assembly had done on Brexit. And so that, I think, shows the quality of the work and the measure of the appreciation that's out there. I can promise you, and I've shown that in the past, that I believe that one of the key roles of the chair is to be the ambassador, to be the champion of the Assembly. So I shall never let an opportunity pass where I don't promote the work that we do. And I just wanted to just highlight a couple and to say, I really believe that without us listening to those concerns, without us being here for people to write into, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. And I want to start with the Blessed Garden Bridge, really. And I want to say well done to my colleague Caroline Pigeon and Tom Copley. Caroline, I don't know if you recall, I was there at the very, very first meeting, and it was in Oversight, I believe, where you came in and said, you'll never guess what I've heard. And you told us the story about the Christmas note that had been delivered, that somebody had got hold of, this Christmas note from Joanne Lumley to the Mayor. And it was that the first time that the Assembly found out about the Garden Bridge deal, or the proposed deal. You quite rightly took it into the Transport Committee, and there you were joined by my colleague Tom Copley, and as a pair you have been tremendous, absolutely well done, and I'd like us all to give you a round of applause, because I just think that that's been amazing work. That has absolutely been amazing work, and I'm sure the campaigners and indeed I'm sure that Margaret Hodge found your report very useful, given that so much of her report contains the work that you did. So thank you, and I think that's an example of really when we're working well, and that's an example of cross-party work. That's an example of when the Assembly is speaking, that's when we're at our best. I'm not saying that people don't want to hear us individually, of course they do, but I believe that we are at our best when we're working together, and this is the strength of the cross-party committee scrutiny, when Assembly members work together and adopt those policies. So I want to thank everybody, the Police and Crime Committee, thank you for your work. The amazing work that's been done on the Housing Committee, Health Committee, the Economy Committee and the Regeneration Committee. And as a member of the Environment Committee, I really appreciate the work that we've been done, and welcome the leadership of Assembly Member Cooper, who has just got hold of this remit and is really taking it to new heights. Thank you. Because I think many people would agree, if it's not the first, it's certainly the second or the third most important issue facing us, and that's about our environment and how we're going to be able to live together and breathe. Speaking as an asthmatic, I really want to see us get on with looking at how we're going to scrutinise the Mayor's strategy that's coming along. And that's what, to finish, just to say, we don't need any reminder about what our key role is. Our key role is to scrutinise the Mayor, and we do it based on evidence. We do it by working with other Londoners. We do it by working with experts. We don't start with a proposition. We don't start with a statement that we're going to prove. We start with a question. We start with querying what the Mayor is doing. And then the other thing that we do well is that we're here to listen to Londoners. We're here for Londoners to come to bring their concerns to, so that we can raise those concerns on their behalf. I look forward to working with you all over the next year. It's going to be really interesting. And I would just say about my style, I think it's charming, but I would say that, wouldn't I? But I would agree that I just want us to be at our best. And I think when we're at our best, I think that we are direct, we're specific, we come informed, and then, you know, we come with that really clever second follow-up question. Everybody's seen the first question. You know, let's get some really clever follow-up questions. Let's do some really amazing scrutiny in the next 12 months. Thank you very much. So, let's go on to the election of the deputy. I would like to formally propose Assemblymember Arbour for the role of deputy for the period until the next annual meeting of the Assembly. Thank you. Gareth?
Yes, could I second that, please, Chair?
Thank you. Gareth, would you like to speak to the nomination?
If I may, Madam Chair, I think I'll probably gracefully decline. I really don't want Tony to get a big head, and I've already been very nice to him. So we all know Tony, we all know that Tony will do the job well, so I think I'll just leave it there. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the office of Deputy Mayor of the London Assembly? Deputy Chair for the London Assembly? No, there are none. I would like to say to Mr. Arbour, you are now the Deputy Mayor of the London Assembly. Congratulations to you.
I thank you,
Okay. Right. Before we go on, can I just give Tony this little gift on behalf of the Assembly members for his work over the last year. Thank you.
Very unexpected. Sounds like chocolates. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we get to item 2. So let's go to item 2, and we have apologies?
Yes, Chair, we have apologies from Assemblymember Badenoch, Assemblymember Devonish, Assemblymember Duval and Assemblymember Prince.
Okay, thank you very
Assemblymember Whittle, I think, as well.
Thank you very much. And then just moving to announcements, I think it's appropriate that I say to colleagues, and I know that they would want to offer her congratulations, that we congratulate Assemblymember Badenoch for being selected as the prospective parliamentary candidate for the seat of Saffron Waldron. And it currently holds a 24,000 majority, so she would have to be very careless to lose that. But we wish her well. Thank you. Let's go on to item 3, declaration of interest. The Assembly to note the recommendations set out at item 3. Assembly members to declare any other disposable pecuniary interests which relate to the items on the agenda for today's meeting, or any other relevant interest, including any declaration in relation to gifts and hospitality which are not reflected on the authority's register of gifts and hospitality. None, thank you. Item 4. Can I ask the Assembly to approve the minutes of the London Assembly meeting held on 8th March 2017, 27th March 2017, the extraordinary meeting held on 23rd March 2017. Can I sign them as correct records? Agree. Thank you. Can I ask the Assembly to note a correction to the minutes of the London Assembly Mayor's Question Time meeting held on 20th February 2017, as detailed on page 4 of the agenda. Thank you. Item 5. Can I ask the Assembly to agree that we take item 5, 6 and 7 together? Agreed? Thank you. These items are around the establishment of committees and bodies for 2017-18, the appointment of members to committees and the election of committee chairs and deputy chairs. A document setting out the proposed committee structure, membership and chairs / deputy chairs has been tabled. Can I propose that can I ask whether or not the Assembly wishes, in accordance with the provisions of Section 17 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989, unanimously to agree to disapply the proportionality rules where committee membership is not politically proportional in respect of the overall membership of the Assembly. Agreed. And that's unanimous. Thank you. Now then, I'll move to asking the Assembly to establish the bodies set out in the tabled appendix as ordinary committees / subcommittees for the period until the next annual general meeting of the Assembly in May 2018, with the size, constitution, terms of reference, membership, substitute members, chairs and deputy chairs as set out on the tabled appendix. Noting that the Fire, Resilience and Emergency Planning Committee will only become operational once Parliament has determined the date on which it shall be effective, and the chair and deputy of that body will be appointed by the Assembly at a later date. Okay, can we agree that? Agreed. Thank you. Can I ask the Assembly to reconfirm the existing standing delegation to the Chair of the Assembly in respect of powers conferred by Schedule 4A of the Greater London Authority Act 1999 as amended, to decide to hold a confirmation hearing and to decide whether to request the candidate to produce any documents and to delegate appointment of the chair to the committee for election at each meeting. Agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Can I ask the Assembly to reconfirm the previous decisions of the then Business Management and Appointment Committee in respect of committee meetings and work programmes as set out at paragraph 4.28 and 4.30 of Agenda Item 5? Agreed? I think that's it, isn't it? That's it. And then Item 8. Can I advise the Assembly that the meeting of the GLA Oversight Committee shown on the draft calendar for 16th May 2017 has been cancelled. So please cancel that out on your schedule. Now we'll go on to, we'll pick up rescheduling of meetings of the whole Assembly at item 11. But let me say to the Assembly, ask them to note that whilst the calendar includes provisional dates for the new Fire, Resilience and Emergency Planning Committee, the committee can only meet formally on dates following the day on which Parliament brings the committee into effect and not before. Officers will, once Parliament has determined the date on which the committee will become operational, will prepare an updated timetable of meetings for the committee. Can I ask the Assembly to agree, subject to decisions taken under item 11, the timetable of London Assembly and committee meetings for 2017-18, as amended and as set out in Appendix 1 to the report, and to note in the position on the establishment of the new Fire Resilience and Emergency Planning Committee. Agree? Thank you. Item 9, can I refer the Assembly to the circulation of an updated mayoral scheme of delegation under cover of a supplementary agenda? Can I ask the Assembly to agree the recommendations set out in the report as amended by the supplementary agenda? Agree. Thank you. Item 10. Can I ask the Assembly to agree recommendations in 2.1 of the report of the work of outside bodies? And do you agree that recommendation, 2.1? Yes, agree? Agree. And can I call for a nomination to the following outside body for the period up until the next ordinary GLA elections? And that body is the Advisory Board of the Centre for Public Scrutiny. Can I have a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Assemblymember Arbour.
Yes. Seconded? Yes, seconded by Assemblymember Bailey. Thank you. Assemblymember Arbour is now appointed to the Advisory Board of the Centre for Public Scrutiny. Thank you. Item 11, future meetings of the Assembly. Can I ask the Assembly to agree the recommendation listed on the agenda, subject to an amendment, adding that authority be delegated to the Chair of the Assembly in consultation with the Mayor and group leaders to determine the dates of the London Assembly Mayor's Question Time meetings in the period June to August 2017.
Agreed.
Agreed. Thank you. Item 12. Action taken by the Chair under delegated authority. Can I ask the Assembly to note the action taken by the then Chairman of the Assembly under delegated authority as set out in the report? Noted. Thank you. And item 13, the date of the next meeting. The next scheduled meeting of the London Assembly is scheduled to be the Mayor's Question Time meeting, which will take place at... which may take place at 10 a.m. on Thursday, 22nd June 2017 in the Chamber. But this is subject to any decisions taken by the Chair in consultation with group leaders and the Mayor, following the agreement that we have just made under item 11. Thank you. And there are no urgent business requiring consideration. So, end of meeting.